My name's Nathan. I'm 51, been married to Jessica for 8 years, and I found her note on the kitchen counter at dawn. She was gone. The bed was untouched, sheets still crisp. The house felt hollow, like she'd taken more than just her belongings. I held the note, reading it twice, the words slicing deep, upgrading to someone younger and better in bed. I folded it neatly, placing it beside my coffee mug. The sting was real, but beneath it, something else stirred. Maybe relief, or just the quiet of no longer pretending things were okay when they'd been crumbling for months. Jessica had always been reckless with money. Credit cards pushed to their limits. Shopping binges she couldn't justify. Bills that materialized like ghosts. I'd bailed her out countless times, made excuses to her family, smoothed over bounced checks and late mortgage payments. Her father, Harold, used to say she inherited her mother's beauty and her grandfather's spending habits. It was a joke until it wasn't. The last 6 months had been the worst. She'd grown distant, guarding her phone like a secret, coming home late from work with no explanation. When I'd ask where she'd been, she'd lash out, accusing me of prying instead of just caring why dinner sat cold. Our conversations dwindled to nothing meaningful, barely anything at all. I walked to the window, staring at the empty driveway. Her car was gone, naturally. So was the jewelry case from our dresser and the emergency cash stashed in my desk. She'd been meticulous, I'd give her that. My phone buzzed, a text from her father, "Everything all right with you too?" Jessica called last night, sounded off. I stared at it, fingers hesitating before replying. "We'll sort it out." But standing in that silent kitchen, I had a sinking feeling things were about to spiral before they'd improve. Jessica was volatile when angry, and if she thought she could wound me by burning through money, she was about to test how much chaos she could unleash. I poured another coffee and sat at the table. The note sat there, its words taunting me. But something about it felt too sharp, too deliberate, like she'd been orchestrating this for longer than I'd realized. The house was unnervingly quiet. The fridge's hum, the clock's tick, my own breath. Everything ordinary, yet nothing would ever be ordinary again. Harold Thornton had built Apex Industries from scratch, starting with a single factory in Montgomery, Alabama, crafting heavy machinery, and growing it into a multi-million-dollar empire with contracts across the region. He was the kind of man who knew every worker's name, labored weekends with his team, and never delegated what he wouldn't do himself. When I married his daughter, he took me aside at the reception. "Nathan," he said, "I respect that you're a man who builds things. Jessica needs someone solid." I'd been overseeing construction projects for 15 years, managing budgets, timelines, and crews who didn't take kindly to orders. Harold and I clicked. We both valued what you earned through sweat. Jessica was different, stunning, charismatic, but raised in wealth she never learned to respect. Her mother passed when she was 12, and Harold tried to fill that void with whatever she wanted. College, cars, limitless credit cards. It was love, but it was also a misstep. 3 years ago, Harold called me to his office. "I need a favor," he said, shutting the door. "I want to open a joint account with you for business expenses, equipment deals, that kind of thing." I was puzzled. Why not use his usual accounts? He shifted uncomfortably. "Because Jessica has access to those. As my daughter, she's a beneficiary on everything. Lately, she's been asking too many questions about my finances, retirement, inheritance, cash flow. It unsettles me." "You don't trust her?" I asked. "I don't trust her judgment with money," he replied. "Never have, but you get business, Nathan. You know how to handle serious funds." We kept it hushed. The account held nearly $200,000, used for major equipment buys and growth plans. Only Harold and I had access, the paperwork listing it as a business partnership between Harold Thornton and Nathan Carter. "Don't tell Jessica," he'd said. "She'd take it personally, thinking I don't trust her. But money twists people, Nathan. I've worked too hard to see it vanish because someone can't rein themselves in." I agreed, seeing his point. But over time, I noticed things. Jessica rifling through my wallet when she thought I was asleep, asking offhand questions about Harold's business, my job, our accounts. Subtle probes masked as small talk. Now in my empty kitchen, those moments felt sinister, less curious, more like she was scouting. By 9 a.m., my phone was buzzing. First, an automated fraud alert from First Crest Bank. Someone tried pulling $5,000 from an account ending in 9271. It wasn't mine. 10 minutes later, another call, different bank, unauthorized transaction on an account ending in 4738. Also not mine. Then a credit card company. A card I'd never heard of was maxed out, $12,000 spent in 2 hours at high-end stores in downtown Montgomery. When I said I hadn't made those charges, the rep asked for my social security number. "Sir," she said after a pause, "this card was opened 3 months ago in your name, but the authorized user is Jessica Carter. Did you add her?" "No," I said. "I've never seen that card." "Well, someone's been active today, Nordstrom, Louis Vuitton and Apple, a jeweler on Dexter Avenue, all in the last 4 hours. I hung up, collapsing into a chair. Jessica hadn't just left. She was torching what she thought were my finances, every account she could touch, every credit line she could exploit. Then Harold called, his voice tight. "Nathan, explain something to me. My bank just called. Someone's making unauthorized withdrawals from our joint account. Big ones." My stomach turned. "How big?" "50,000 this morning, another $30,000 20 minutes ago. Flagged because they were cash withdrawals at different branches." His voice dropped. "The bank says whoever did it had the account details, knew the numbers." I shut my eyes. Jessica had been through my desk, my files, my computer. She'd found the account info, thinking it was mine. Instead, she was stealing from her father. "Harold," I said carefully, "Jessica left me today. She's trying to ruin me financially, but she doesn't know about our setup. She thinks that account's mine." Silence. "Then you're saying my daughter's stealing from me to hurt you?" "Exactly." Another pause. "How much could she access?" "All of it," I admitted. "She's been in my office, my papers. If she copied the account details, Christ," he muttered, "she could empty it." I glanced at the note, its cruel words about upgrading. Jessica thought she was dismantling my life. Instead, she was unraveling her own. By noon, Harold and I were in the bank manager's office, watching security footage. There was Jessica, plain as day, passing her ID to a teller. She'd withdrawn $80,000 across 3 branches. "How could this happen?" Harold demanded of the manager, a wiry man named Ellis who kept fidgeting with his tie. "This is a business account. She shouldn't have access." "Sir, she had everything, account numbers, routing codes, security answers." "With that, we assume they're authorized," Ellis said, uneasy. "Plus, she's your daughter. The teller recognized the name." Harold's face hardened. "She's not authorized. Only Nathan and I are." "We understand now," Ellis said. "We've frozen the account, but only about $40,000 remains." 160,000 gone in hours. Harold turned to me. "Where else could she have gotten info?" I thought back. "She's been in my home office, digging through my desk. Statements come to the house." "Have you confronted her?" "Can't. Her phone's off. She's not at work, took personal leave." Ellis cleared his throat. "Gentlemen, we have to report this to the police. This amount is grand theft, and with a business account there could be more charges." Harold nodded grimly. "Do it." We left the bank, the afternoon heat heavy. Harold paused by his truck, his face a mix of pain and resolve. "Nathan, that money wasn't idle. It was for equipment next month, machinery that create 12 jobs. Now I'm scrambling to cover payroll." The gravity hit me, not just Harold's loss, but the workers, their families, relying on those checks. "I'm sorry," I said. "If I'd known she was snooping." "This isn't on you," he cut in. "But I need to make calls, move funds, plug the gap." He hesitated. "And I have to tell the family Jessica stole from the business." That afternoon, I drove around Montgomery, checking her sister's place, her friend's condo, her old gym. Nothing, but at 4 p.m. another fraud alert. She tried using a credit card at a hotel in Tuscaloosa, 2 hours away. I called Harold. "She's in Tuscaloosa, probably thinks she's clear." "Good," he said. "My lawyer says every transaction strengthens the theft case, shows intent." "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing, let her spend. Every charge buries her deeper." His voice was raw. "I raised her better, Nathan." "I don't know what I missed." "You didn't miss anything," I said. "You trusted her." "Yeah," he replied, "and now I pay for it." That night, Harold called a family meeting at his house. His sister Ellen, her husband, Greg, and Jessica's younger brother, Ryan, arrived, anxious and confused. Harold had only said it was about Jessica. In the living room where we'd shared countless dinners, Harold laid it out, the joint account, the theft, the police report. The family sat in shocked silence. "Hold on," Ryan said. "Jessica stole from the business, our business." 160,000, Harold said softly. "Money for expansion, new equipment, jobs for loyal workers." Ellen spoke up. "Why would she do this? She doesn't need money." "You've always provided." Harold looked at me. "She thought she was stealing from Nathan to hurt him. Instead, she robbed her own family." The room fell silent. Greg leaned forward. "She didn't know it was your money?" "No," Harold said. "She thought it was Nathan's personal account. She wanted to ruin him and ruined her place in this family instead." Ryan paced. "This is crazy. She's always been careless with money but stealing from you." "There's more." Harold said, pulling out a folder. My accountant checked today. Small sums have been missing from other accounts for a year, a few thousand here and there. I thought it was errors. He spread statements on the table. These dates, April 10th, June 18th, September 12th, line up with when Jessica was asking about money, the business, my retirement. Ellen grabbed a statement. She's been stealing for a year, testing what she could get away with, Harold said. Today she got greedy. I felt ill. Harold, I didn't know she was. This isn't your fault, Nathan. It's my daughter's choices hurting those who trusted her. He stacked the papers. I funded her life, her car, her cards, even some of your home expenses. That ends now. Greg asked. What's next? The police will arrest her when they find her. The DA decides if she's prosecuted. I'll have to rebuild the trust she's shattered. Harold's voice held steady, but his eyes betrayed his pain. I love her, but she's a thief who stole from her family. Ryan slumped back. What about Nathan? Harold met my gaze. Nathan's done nothing wrong. He's a victim too. She left him, tried to ruin him, used his private info for a felony. He paused. Nathan's still family. Jessica's the one who walked away. Those words hit hard. After 8 years, I was losing a wife but keeping a father-in-law. The next morning, Detective Larson called. They'd found Jessica at a luxury spa in Tuscaloosa, trying to book a week's stay with a stolen card. She was in custody, charged with grand theft, credit card fraud, and embezzlement. She wants to see you, Larson said. Says she has info to help her case. I drove to the Tuscaloosa County Jail that afternoon. Jessica sat in a small room, orange jumpsuit stark against her pale skin, hair tied back, eyes swollen from tears. She looked diminished. Nathan, she said as I sat across from her. Thank God this is a mistake. I stayed silent. I was upset, okay? You've been so cold lately. I thought you were cheating. I found those bank statements, all that money, accounts I didn't know about. I thought you were hiding wealth, planning to leave me with nothing. So you tried to leave me with nothing first, I said. I wasn't thinking straight. I was hurt. She leaned closer. But we can fix this. Talk to Dad, tell him it was an error. I'll repay it. I studied her. Jessica, do you know whose money you took? Yours. I saw the statements in your desk. It was your father's, a joint account he set up with me for business. He kept it secret because he worried about your spending. Her face went ashen. No, that's not. 160,000, I said. For equipment jobs you stole from your father. She sank back, stunned. You're lying. Call him. Ask about the account, the police report, the lawyer he hired to ensure you face consequences. For the first time in years, Jessica had no words. Then came the tears, raw, desperate. Nathan, help me. I'm his daughter. He won't let me go to prison. He already has. You chose revenge over truth. Now you live with it. I stood. Nathan, wait, she pleaded. What about us, our marriage? I turned back. You killed our marriage with that note. You lost your family when you stole their money, and you burned any chance to fix this when you chose spite over honesty. What, you're just abandoning me? No, Jessica. You abandoned yourself. I left the jail and drove to Harold's office. He sat at his desk, looking older than ever. How was it? He asked. She knows, I said. She knows what she did and who she hurt. Harold nodded slowly. Good, maybe now Jessica could start making wiser decisions. But deep down, we both knew that chance had slipped away. 3 months later, I sat in the courtroom as Judge Thompson delivered Jessica's sentence. 5 years in state prison for grand theft, with parole possible after 3 years, plus restitution of $160,000, court fees and fines. Jessica stood beside her public defender, a shadow of the bold woman who'd left that vicious note on my kitchen counter. 3 months in jail awaiting trial had worn her down, her hair brittle, her face hollow, her designer wardrobe swapped for a poorly fitting suit her brother had provided. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she turned toward Harold in the gallery. I'm sorry, Dad, I'm so sorry. Harold didn't react. His hands stayed clasped, his expression unreadable. He'd attended every hearing, not out of loyalty, but to see justice done. The prosecutor had laid it out clearly during the trial. Jessica had been siphoning money from her family for over a year, her thefts peaking with the massive withdrawal that derailed the company's growth plans. The 12 jobs Harold had intended to create were shelved indefinitely. 2 veteran workers were let go due to the financial strain. Ryan testified about the family trust, now amended to cut Jessica out of any inheritance. Ellen spoke of the disgrace Jessica had brought upon their name. Harold took the stand himself, detailing how his daughter's betrayal forced him to mortgage his home to keep Apex Industries afloat. But the most damning evidence came from the bank records. Every withdrawal, every charge, every fraudulent transaction time-stamped and backed by security footage. The case was airtight. As the bailiff cuffed Jessica and led her away, she glanced back one last time. Not at her family, not at me, but at the courtroom door she wouldn't pass through freely for years. The gavel's sharp crack rang through the hushed room. Outside, Harold and I stood under the afternoon sun. The rest of the family had left, unwilling to watch their daughter and sister hauled off in chains. But Harold had stayed. "It's done," he said softly. "You holding up okay?" "Better than I thought," I admitted. He looked weathered but somehow more grounded. "I keep thinking about the folks at the factory, decent people working hard, counting on steady pay. She jeopardized all that for what? To lash out at you because she was mad." We walked to our trucks in silence. At his door, Harold turned. "Nathan, I need you to hear this. What she did doesn't change how I see you. You're still family to me more than she's been lately." "That means a lot, Harold," I said. "More than you know. The business will bounce back. It'll take time, but we'll rebuild. When we do, I want you to think about joining us. We could use someone with your skills and character." I pictured the empty house I'd been rattling around in, the divorce papers I'd signed 2 weeks prior, the new chapter I'd been mapping out. "I'll consider it," I said. "No rush," he replied. "Take your time." 6 months later, Jessica's appeals were shot down. The conviction held firm. Apex Industries had stabilized enough to rehire the laid-off workers and add 2 new roles. The expansion was back on track. I kept the house and started fresh. Jessica lost it all, her family, her freedom, any tie to the life she'd tried to torch out of spite. Her cruel note about upgrading to someone better turned out to be prophetic, just not how she'd meant it. I'd upgraded to a life free of deceit, betrayal, and someone who'd rob her own father to settle a grudge. Sometimes, the best revenge is stepping back and letting someone unravel themselves while you stand clear.